The sheriff met my gaze and said flatly, "He's gone." Then they packed up their scent dogs, rolled up their maps, and drove off like it was just the end of another routine shift. My wife stood on the porch of our cabin, arms tightly wrapped around her torso, like she was holding herself together. Her voice cracked through the stillness. "You were supposed to be watching him." She didn't wait for an explanation, just brushed past me with her suitcase in hand, never even glancing back. Our little boy had been missing for 3 weeks, and just like that, they quit. Everyone did, except me. I once believed these woods were safe. That's why we moved out here, to give Evan space to run, breathe fresh air, grow up away from the chaos of city life. No honking, no flashing lights, just trees, wind, and time. We used to be happy. I can still hear Evan's laughter echoing between the trees as he pushed his small blue tow truck down the trail. Rachel would sit on the porch with a book in her lap, while I chased after Evan pretending to be the bad guy car. We were a family, until that day. I had turned away for what felt like only a moment. A text, just a quick, stupid message from the contractor. When I looked back up, he was gone. I screamed his name until my voice broke. The woods didn't echo. No tiny footprints. No fabric caught on branches. No sign of a struggle. Just absence. The sheriff told us wild animals take kids sometimes. Said, statistically, Evan wouldn't have lasted through the first night. But nothing about that day ever felt right. The gate was still locked. No tracks, no torn clothing, no blood. Just silence. And Rachel, she started pulling away from me. Little by little, her sorrow curdled into blame into coldness. And then she was gone, too. Still I searched, every single day, no matter what they said. Then, last night, I had a dream. Evan was standing under the old cedar by the South Trail, clutching his toy truck, eyes filled with terror. He whispered, "Help me, Daddy." I woke before sunrise and headed out again. One more time. At the base of that cedar tree, buried under wet leaves, I found it, his little blue tow truck, caked in mud, scratched up, but undeniably his. My hand was shaking when I picked it up, and then something strange. A tiny, tightly folded piece of paper fell from the truck's driver's seat. The handwriting was thick, uneven, crayon. It read, "Help me, Daddy." Beneath it, in smaller, more careful letters, he took me to the green door. My heart nearly stopped. Green door. No one lived within 20 miles of us. No one except Gary. Gary was the older guy who lived past the ridge. Retired. Polite. Kept to himself. On the surface, he seemed harmless. But something about him had always unsettled me. He never acknowledged Evan. Never waved. And one night, months before Evan vanished, I caught Gary just standing at the edge of the tree line, staring at our cabin. When I spotted him, he didn't flinch. He just smiled, then turned and slipped back into the woods. I told Rachel. She said I was being paranoid. But last night, I pulled up the topographical maps again. There it was, Gary's old hunting cabin. Not his main house, but a deeper, isolated structure out in the forest. I'd never been there. I waited until dark, grabbed a flashlight, and my father's old Smith & Wesson. Each step through the forest felt heavier than the one before. The air grew colder, the woods quieter. Then I saw it, a rundown shack, half swallowed by brush and rot, its door painted green. My chest tightened. I approached carefully. The doorknob turned easily. The smell was overwhelming. Mildew, rot, urine, and something worse. I stepped inside. My flashlight sliced through layers of dust and webbing. Then the beam hit something small, a child's shoe. Evan's. My legs buckled. Still I pressed on, room by room. No sign of him, but drawings. Dozens of them. Crayon scribbles all over stained wallpaper. Stick figures with tears. Some had red lines over their mouths. One word kept showing up over and over. Quiet. I took photos of everything. Every wall, every inch. Then I found it. A rug pulled slightly to the side. Beneath it, a hatch. Padlocked. I didn't even breathe. Just lifted the gun and squeezed the trigger. The lock exploded with a sharp crack. Beneath the hatch, a narrow crawl space. Inside, an old mattress, a bucket, some blankets, candy wrappers. But no Evan. Still, I knew. I called the sheriff and told him I had proof. He arrived not long after, flanked by 2 deputies. I handed over photographs. The note, his face went pale. His fingers shook as he called for backup. The next morning, they arrested Gary. The interrogation lasted 12 hours. He broke in 4. 3 children, over 10 years. One was discovered buried near a lake house he used to own. Another was never recovered. As for Evan, Gary insisted he'd let him go, but never said where. 6 days later, I got the call. A park ranger from a small town 2 counties away said they'd found a child wandering near the river, barefoot, malnourished, skin covered in insect bites, but alive. Evan, when he saw me, he ran into my arms and collapsed, sobbing. He whispered through the tears, "I kept the note like you told me. I knew you'd come." Rachel flew in that same night. I had never seen her cry like that. She broke down in a way I didn't know she could. She apologized over and over, 100 times. I nodded, told her it wasn't her fault. But inside me, something had shifted. Something fractured the moment she walked away. The day she stared into my eyes and said, "You let him die." Gary's trial became a public spectacle. I sat in the front row. So did Rachel. Evan stayed home, safe with my sister. Gary never once looked my way. Not until the final moment, when the verdict came in. Guilty on all counts. He's locked up for life now. But even that didn't feel like justice. 6 months passed. Rachel began showing up again, trying to step back into our lives. She brought presents, offered to stay the night, pretended like none of it had ever happened. Then one evening, after Evan had fallen asleep, she stood quietly in the doorway of the guest room and asked, "Do you still love me?" I didn't answer, just looked at her long and hard. Then I handed her a folder, the pictures, the crayon note, all the things she once refused to believe. Her hands trembled as she turned the pages. "I left you," she said, voice thick with tears. "Yes," I replied, cold and steady, "and I stayed." She packed up and left again the next morning. This time, I didn't stop her. Now it's just Evan and me. We sit on the porch in the mornings, eating breakfast while the wind hums through the trees. Sometimes he rolls his little blue truck along the porch rail. Sometimes he just stares quietly into the woods. He's healing, bit by bit. And me, I live with the quiet now. Not anger, not hate, just a solemn vow. If anyone ever tries to take him from me again, I won't need a second note.